It's the second Monday of the month of grace, and this is Wonuola Adetayo, the Shaper, welcoming you to this week's edition of Faith Capsules, powered by the Shaper's Ark. Our scripture for today is 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 9. 2 Corinthians 12 and verse 9. And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. This scripture teaches us about the sufficiency of God's grace in empowering us to succeed in spite of our inadequacies, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. In Exodus chapter 3, verses 11 to 14, we see Moses expressing his feelings of inadequacy as he felt disqualified to take on God's assignment. Moses was a stammerer, and once upon a time, he committed murder. Yet, God's grace was sufficient for him to fulfill his mission as a deliverer. Are you suffering from a weakness or inadequacy that disqualifies you from your desired promotion? I have good news for you. The grace of God will be sufficient for your advancement. Peter the Apostle was a fearful person, although he loved his master very dearly. His fear was so great, he denied his master 3 times before the cock would crow twice. Read John 18:25 to 26 for details. In spite of this innate weakness of Peter, the grace of God was sufficient to make Peter one of the notable apostles of the New Testament. Are you overtaken by fear, worry, or anxiety, especially in this season of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity? Fear not, my friend. The grace of God will be sufficient for your lifting even this very week. Samson's weakness sent him into the camp of the enemy, and he became a mockery, having lost his sight and vision. Yet, God's grace caused Samson's hair to grow again in Judges 16:22, and he yet won the greatest victory over the enemy in his most vulnerable state in Judges 16 and verse 30. Has your weakness sent you into the trap of the enemy? Has your compromise thrown your business into distress? Have you become an object of mockery to your enemies? The sufficiency of God's grace is most potently displayed in our weaknesses and vulnerabilities, especially as we admit them and ask God for forgiveness. It is for this reason that Paul said he would rather glory in his weaknesses, because our weaknesses attract the power of God for impressive demonstration of his abilities. My friend, as we progress this month of grace, reach out to God. Commit your weaknesses into God's hands. Cry unto him for forgiveness and invite God to neutralize your weakness by his grace and strength. I assure you, lifting and advancement shall be your portion even as you do this. This is Wonuola Adetayo, the Shaper, wishing you the best of good success as God's limitless grace lifts you beyond your weaknesses. Shalom.